They were TV's most beloved liberal couple, until one day, they mysteriously disappeared from All in the Family. The studio claimed they left for a job in California, but the real reason? It was far darker than anyone knew. Rob Reiner, tired of being stuck as Meathead, yearned for something bigger, his chance to direct. Meanwhile, Sally Struthers was so fed up with her role, she spent a staggering $40,000 just to break her contract. But the true bombshell, the writers hit back in the most shocking way, by making Mike walk out on his family for a younger woman named Muffy. Here's the untold, messy drama behind the scenes of All in the Family, the stuff they never wanted you to uncover. The show's inception began with an unexpected spark from across the ocean. Norman Lear stumbled upon a British sitcom called Till Death Us Do in 1968, through a magazine article. From the moment Lear saw the father-son dynamic, he knew it mirrored his own family. It was personal. His father had once told his mother to stifle herself, and she had called him the laziest white man she'd ever seen. Lear took those harsh words and infused them into the show, shaping Archie Bunker's biting, no-holds-barred personality. But turning the show into reality wasn't easy. Big names were considered for the role of Archie. Tom Bosley, Jack Warden, Jackie Gleason, Mickey Rooney even sat down for a meeting. But he stormed out when he heard the pitch, calling it un-American, and warning Lear that if he went through with it, he'd be shot dead in the streets for trying to put a bigot on television. It was a testament to just how daring the idea was. In the end, the role went to Carol Okconor, who brought Archie to life with a perfect blend of stubbornness and charm. But years later, in a 2025 podcast, Sally Struthers shared a new twist on the story. According to Struthers, it wasn't Norman Lear who discovered Till Death Us Do. It was actually Carol Okconor. He had seen the show during a trip to the UK and had tried to adapt it himself. But no one would back a project led by an actor alone. So Okconor turned to Lear, who had the clout to get it made. Struthers revealed that Lear never gave Okconor the credit he deserved. She kept this story quiet while Lear was alive, but after his passing, she felt it was time to speak out. Before CBS picked up the show, ABC had its shot and passed on it. In 1968, ABC filmed a pilot called Justice for All, starring Okconor and Gene Stapleton as the parents. But just weeks before the network saw it, ABC had been burned by another show, Turn On, which was cancelled after just one episode. Scared of another risky project, they passed. A second pilot was made in 1969, with some new cast members and a name change to Those Were the Days. But even then, ABC refused to move forward, and the project sat in limbo. It wasn't until 1970 that a CBS executive finally saw the second pilot and took a chance. By the time All in the Family found its rhythm, at least 17 different pilots and 4 lost episodes had been filmed, according to Sally Struthers. In one version, Irene Ryan, known for her role as Granny on the Beverly Hillbillies, even played Edith. Can you imagine if that version had made it to air? Meanwhile, CBS was undergoing a major transformation. In 1971, they decided to ditch a whole lineup of rural-themed shows, Green Acres, Mayberry RFD, even Lassie. They wanted to target younger, urban viewers, the kind advertisers loved. One actor joked that 1971 was the year CBS killed everything with a tree in it. But clearing out those old favorites made room for bold, groundbreaking shows like All in the Family, MASH, and Maude. Suddenly, television wasn't afraid to tackle heavy topics, racism, war, abortion, issues it had long avoided. But even after CBS greenlit the show, the role of Archie Bunker almost went to someone else. Besides Mickey Rooney and Jackie Gleason, Norman Lear had spoken to a few other actors before finally settling on Okconor. When Lear offered Okconor the role, the actor hesitated. He only agreed to return from Europe if Lear promised to cover the cost of his flight home in case the show flopped. That's how unsure Okconor was about the project. He didn't even like the first script. CBS was nervous too. They expected a barrage of angry phone calls on the night the show aired and hired extra operators just in case. But when the show premiered, instead of outrage, it was met with praise, and Okconor became Archie Bunker forever. Casting the rest of the family wasn't any smoother. Gloria and her husband went through 3 different actor pairs before they found the right fit. The first pilot featured Kelly Jean Peters and Tim McIntyre. Then came Candice Azara and Chip Oliver. Finally, when CBS took over, they landed on Sally Struthers and Rob Reiner, and that's when everything clicked. Reiner's journey to playing Mike, or Meathead, wasn't an easy one. He had little acting experience, with just a few small roles, including one where he spoke a single word on Batman. Richard Dreyfuss was originally interested in the role, and Harrison Ford turned it down, worried about the show's bold message. Reiner had auditioned once and was rejected, but after Norman Lear saw him deliver a dramatic scene on another show, he gave him a second chance. Reiner nailed it. Although he cared more about directing than acting, he fully immersed himself in the role, staying on for most of the series and even writing a few episodes. Struthers also had to fight for her place. She auditioned while battling laryngitis and still beat out Penny Marshall, who was dating Rob Reiner at the time and later became his wife. Struthers stayed on for 8 seasons, but it wasn't always easy. She often felt overlooked. Most of her lines were forgettable. Things like, "I'll help you set the table, Ma." By season 5, she was so frustrated, she tried to leave, even hiring lawyers. Her attempt to leave didn't work, but when she returned, her character finally got some much-needed depth, with a baby and a house next door. She later said those final seasons were the most fun. As for Okconor, he became the heart of the show, despite his initial doubts. He won 4 Emmys for his portrayal of Archie and stood firm in his beliefs. During a CBS workers' strike, he refused to cross the picket line, missing 3 episodes because of it. But Okconor once said the show would have worked even without him. There was always something happening in that bunker house. When All in the Family first aired in 1971, CBS was on edge. So much so, they added a warning before the show aired, telling viewers it would cover sensitive topics like racism, sexism, and other uncomfortable issues, through humor. At the time, sitcoms were all about safe, silly fun. Shows like The Beverly Hillbillies and Green Acres ruled the airwaves with goofy antics, far from anything controversial. So when All in the Family hit the scene, it was nothing short of a shock. No one had ever seen anything like it. But instead of pushing viewers away, it drew them in. People didn't just watch, they became hooked. All in the Family climbed to the #1 spot in America, where it stayed for 5 consecutive years. That kind of streak was unprecedented. The show connected because it mirrored what was happening in American homes. Families were already divided by politics, race, and shifting values. Now, those very arguments were playing out on TV, acted out by Archie Bunker and his family, and somehow, it was hilarious. The cast wasn't filled with big names in the beginning, but their lives changed quickly. Early on, the director warned them to brace for the inevitable fame that would follow. And he was right. Viewers couldn't get enough. Beneath the laughs, they saw their own struggles reflected, a nation wrestling with change and trying to make sense of it all. The success wasn't just measured in ratings. At the Emmy Awards, the show made history, winning 6 major Emmys in one night, including top writing awards. Such a clean sweep was rare, and it wasn't a fluke. All in the Family went on to win the award for Outstanding Comedy Series for 4 consecutive years. It earned a spot in an elite group of shows to accomplish such a feat. The industry took notice. This wasn't just a popular show, it was one that commanded respect. Much of that respect was thanks to Carol Okconor, who brought Archie Bunker to life. At first glance, Archie seemed like a loud, bigoted man stuck in the past. But Okconor gave him layers, making Archie more human than people realized. Viewers could see his fear and confusion about a world that was changing too quickly for him. Okconor once said that Archie's world was painful for him, and that's what made him funny. You could laugh at his stubbornness, but you also understood why it was there. Some episodes even revealed Archie's softer side. In one, he got drunk and shared how hard his childhood had been. In another, he accidentally joined a hate group, only to walk away in disgust when he realized what they truly stood for. There was even a moment where Archie honored a Jewish friend's memory, showing genuine emotion. These weren't just jokes anymore. Archie was evolving right before our eyes. And it wasn't just Archie who grew. The show itself pushed boundaries, tackling topics other shows wouldn't dare touch. And it did so in a way that made people think, even as they laughed. A TV historian once said, there was television before Norman Lear, and television after him. Lear, the show's creator, didn't just want to make people laugh. He wanted to make a statement, and he succeeded. All in the Family sparked spin-offs like Maude, The Jeffersons, and Good Times, all of which continued to explore serious topics with humor. Even museums took notice. Archie and Edith's chairs were eventually displayed in the Smithsonian, becoming recognized symbols of American culture. That's the impact the show had. But it might never have happened without one key figure, Fred Silverman. Silverman, a young programming executive at CBS, had an incredible instinct for what audiences wanted to watch. They called it his golden gut. While others hesitated to air All in the Family, Silverman saw its potential. He fought to get the show on the air. He also made sure it landed a prime Saturday night slot, helping it reach more viewers. Most importantly, he trusted Norman Lear to create the show he believed in. Looking back, Silverman said he was proud to be part of something that changed television. And he was right. All in the Family wasn't just another sitcom. It was a game changer. It was a pivotal moment in television history. All in the Family didn't just make people laugh. It made them uncomfortable and made them think. The mix of truth, pain, and humor created something unforgettable that resonated with audiences for years. Sally Struthers, who portrayed Gloria, spent countless years feeling trapped by her role. Episode after episode, she found herself stuck saying the same things, offering to set the table, asking where Michael was going, or telling her father to stop. She even joked that when the writers ran out of ideas for her, they'd just have her walk upstairs to wash her hair. The frustration was real. While Carol O'Connor's Archie bunker got rich, complex storylines that delved into his past and beliefs, Gloria remained one-dimensional. Struthers believed that the older, brilliant writers just didn't know how to craft meaningful stories for a young woman like her. In 1972, Struthers took the bold step of asking the writers to give Gloria a job, hoping it would spark new and funny storylines. But despite her efforts, nothing changed. Eventually, Struthers reached a boiling point. After 5 seasons, she made a daring move. She attempted to break her contract. She spent a jaw-dropping $40,000, an enormous sum at the time, on legal fees, hoping to leave the show. But she lost the case. She was stuck for 3 more seasons. Ironically, those turned out to be the seasons Struthers enjoyed the most. The writers finally gave Gloria more depth. She and Michael started a family and moved into the house next door, giving her character the richer, more meaningful storylines she'd longed for. Her legal battle highlighted just how much control studios had over actors in those days, and how difficult it was to break free from the machine. While Struthers was fighting for creative freedom, Rob Reiner, who played Michael, Meathead, Stitch, had his own concerns. Acting wasn't his main focus. Even while working on All in the Family, Reiner's passion was directing. He later confessed that writing and directing were always his true interests, and that creative tension began to show in the later seasons. Reiner often improvised alongside Carol O'Connor, especially in emotionally charged episodes like Two's a Crowd, where Archie reveals painful truths about his past. Reiner's improvisational style clashed with the writer's plans at times, but it also brought a raw, authentic energy to the show. Off-screen, Reiner struggled to shake the Meathead image. Decades after the show ended, strangers would still shout Meathead at him in public. It was frustrating. He didn't want to be defined by that one role. So when CBS offered a Gloria spin-off, he turned it down. The writers wrote Michael out of the story by saying he'd left Gloria and their son Joey to live in a California commune with a girl named Muffy. It was an odd exit, but it allowed Reiner the space he needed to pursue his true calling. He went on to direct classics like Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, and When Harry Met Sally, showcasing a broader range of talent that television never allowed him to fully explore. Interestingly, the political debates between Archie and Michael weren't just confined to the screen. In real life, Carol O'Connor was a liberal, but he believed that Archie needed to be portrayed with nuance. O'Connor often argued with the show's creator, Norman Lear, insisting that Archie shouldn't be shown as purely hateful. O'Connor wanted viewers to see Archie as flawed, yes, but also human. Reiner, raised in Hollywood by his famous father, Carl Reiner, was outspoken and progressive. Their real-life differences added genuine tension to their scenes, making the conflict feel authentic. That friction is what made the show resonate so deeply. It allowed people on both sides of the political divide to see themselves in the characters, even when they didn't agree with them. Meanwhile, the relationship between Gloria and Michael evolved, becoming more complex as the series progressed. The dynamic between Gloria and Michael evolved significantly over the course of All in the Family. At first, they were just a young married couple living under her father Archie's roof. Their early days were marked by petty arguments, Michael sitting in Archie's favorite chair or eating too much food. But as time went on, the stakes of their relationship deepened. When baby Joey was born, everything shifted. Gloria, overwhelmed by motherhood, found herself with less time for Michael. The tension between their new roles as parents and partners began to show. They struggled to maintain their connection while living under Archie's watchful eye. Eventually, they moved into their own place, with George Jefferson offering them his old house next door at a bargain price. Archie thought he'd finally gotten rid of them, until he realized they'd be living right next door. That move turned out to be a blessing for Gloria. She was no longer just Archie's daughter or Michael's wife. With her own space, she had room to grow and discover who she really was. This change was particularly welcome for Sally Struthers, who had long felt confined by her role. As the series progressed, Gloria became more independent, gaining more screen time and a stronger voice. Her character evolved into a more feminist figure, something that felt particularly relevant during the 1970s. At first, Gloria was often caught in the middle of Archie's old-school views and Michael's progressive ideals. But as time passed, Gloria grew more confident, advocating for women's rights and supporting causes that mattered to her. It wasn't always easy, and her character's evolution reflected the struggles many women faced in balancing traditional values with the desire for change. Eventually, this growth started to create tension in her marriage. When the couple moved to California, Michael became more absorbed in his academic career, while Gloria felt increasingly isolated. Michael, who started as a student at the show's beginning, had always been driven to pursue a career in academia. His ambition provided the catalyst for their move, but once they settled into their new life, his priorities shifted. He spent more time with professors and less time with his family. Things took a turn for the worse when Michael and Gloria staged a nude protest against a nuclear power plant, leading to Michael's firing and a sudden end to his career. This moment marked a major turning point for Michael. In one of the show's most emotionally charged storylines, Michael found himself deeply affected by the tragic death of Beverly LaSalle, a drag performer who had been introduced as a family friend. Beverly was brutally attacked and murdered in a hate crime, an event that deeply affected the entire family. Michael's response to tragedy forced him to confront the real-world consequences of his ideals. His belief in tolerance and justice, once theoretical, became personal after witnessing the effects of hate, adding depth to his character, previously seen only as a liberal foil to Archie. When Rob Reiner left All in the Family in 1978, it was to pursue his passion for directing, not due to any conflict. Raised by director Carl Reiner, Rob had always been drawn to filmmaking. After his contract ended, he directed hits like This Is Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, and The Princess Bride, quickly becoming one of Hollywood's top directors. Sally Struthers, frustrated with Gloria's lack of development, wanted more independence for her character. She tried to break her contract in 1974 and, by 1978, was ready to move on to new roles. Both Rob and Sally left on good terms, marking a natural transition for the show. To explain Mike and Gloria's absence, the writers gave Mike a job offer in California, fitting his academic background. This allowed for new storylines, including the collapse of their marriage. Gloria's affair and their separation set the stage for her spin-off show. Mike's exit was a shock. The character who lectured Archie about fairness and equality left Gloria and their son to live with a younger woman, Muffy. This felt like a betrayal of everything Mike had stood for. In the Gloria spin-off, Gloria was portrayed as a single mother in a small town, working as a veterinary assistant. Despite Struthers' popularity, the show struggled and was cancelled after one season, reflecting the changing family dynamics of the late 1970s, with rising divorce rates. Mike and Gloria's marriage couldn't survive the changing times and their differing values, as Gloria became more independent and Mike grew more rigid. Meanwhile, All in the Family evolved. Archie Bunker's Place debuted in 1979, shifting focus to Archie's Bar. New characters, including Archie's Jewish business partner and young Stephanie Mills, were introduced. The show also addressed Edith's death, with her passing from a stroke in season 2, giving Archie a chance to show vulnerability. The show, once a sharp commentary on society, became a story of change and loss. As Rob Reiner and Sally Struthers moved on, Carol Okconor and Gene Stapleton stayed, with Okconor continuing as Archie. He earned $200,000 per episode and later reinvented himself in the Heat of the Night, while Stapleton sought new opportunities, stepping away from Edith. Gene Stapleton, grateful for her time as Edith, grew increasingly typecast and longed for stage work. She disliked being called Edith in public and asked fans to address her by her real name. After leaving All in the Family, she made a few guest appearances on Archie Bunker's Place, before her character's death was written in as a stroke, allowing the show to continue. Stapleton's next move reflected her true passion for acting. In 1982, she portrayed Eleanor Roosevelt in a TV film, earning critical acclaim and award nominations. She later expanded this into a one-woman show, showcasing her versatility beyond the comedic roles she had been known for. Stapleton's post-All in the Family career demonstrated her desire to break free from Edith's shadow and pursue her love for theater. While appreciative of her iconic role, she found fulfillment in challenging and diverse roles. Her decision to move on highlights how actors, after years on a single project, often seek new creative outlets, redefining themselves even after achieving major success.